when you're sitting on the other side of the rink, you always wonder, I think I did anyways as a hockey mom, what it would be like on the other side of the bench for the coaching staff, for the timekeeper, and the players, just to be on that side of the bench. So I am super thankful that you, Tammy, said yes to me coming behind the bench last weekend and getting to sit in the time box with you and do that job. So, scorekeeping and timekeeping are two different jobs, but you do them as one person. So, do you find it difficult to do both jobs?
Yes and no. Yes for junior A, just because junior A is a lot more physical than our minor hockey. And for junior A, they haven't upgraded to the iPads yet. So I sit there and run the clock, but also have to write out um, all the goals and all the penalties. As for our minor hockey, which has upgraded to iPads, I find that a little bit more easier um, because everything is technology these days. But you get the hang of it. You kind of just get into a zone and you just follow the puck and listen for your whistles and away you go. And that's how you just kind of got to go with it, just one step at a time. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake because we're only human. But I do find it much easier doing it myself, whereas some people, they need two people in there, one to run the clock and one to do either the score sheet or the iPad. But once you've done it for as many years as I have, you kind of just go with the flow. And yeah, it's it gets intimidating sometimes, but you just kind of breathe and you go. And but then you get to watch when it comes to overtime and everything. Your heart stops when you're on our side of the bench doing the clock because you always want your home team to win. But it does get. I do personally like to sit on my side of the bench, other than being a fan some days. But it's rewarding.
It is, absolutely. So there's definitely a lot. There's a lot to know.
Hmm.
And like you said, that comes with time and that comes with putting in your time behind the box and learning. So I know there are, timekeeping clinics and stuff like that for anyone who is interested in taking on this position. Um, can you tell our listeners, are these jobs volunteer positions or are they paid positions within certain divisions?
For minor hockey, it is a paid position. You get paid a different price for each league. And for when I do the Paper Kings, yes, I get paid to do that. I'm just speaking out for the Espanola area. I don't know if it's like that for every other area, but yes, for Espanola, when you do become a timekeeper, you do get paid for that. Yeah.
And that's awesome because it's a position that needs to be filled. And I also don't know, the rules and regulations all over the world. But I do know and imagine it would be close to being a referee or an official of some sort. You are an important part of the game. So without you and without a referee, there is no game really that can happen without an official clock, right? So
That's correct.
yeah. So, can you just walk me through when you first arrive at the arena before your game starts? What are the steps you have to take in terms of like who fills out the team roster, things like that, before you sit down to actually start the game? What are those preparation steps?
Okay, so for minor hockey, because minor hockey does iPads, each team, like your home team and your visitors team, have already filled out the iPad. So I just find, say, the home coach, I get the iPad, and then they will tell us because each division does run different period times. They will tell you how long your periods will be. Then I just go in and you get the clock set up for that game. As for junior A, um, I am usually there about an hour and a half before warm up, just because I have to go and find the home coach and the away coach and get their rosters. And those I physically have to fill out on the score sheet myself because they're still old school. So I have to sit there and write out everybody's name and their number and get the coaches to sign it with all their starters. And then I do the same. I'll go over to the penalty box, get my clock set up, and get ready for that game.
So that's really great. You answered one of my questions already as far as how do you know how much time to put on the clock and how many periods. So I know in different divisions, there's different time regulations. So that's given to you, handed down from a coach.
Yeah, correct. Sometimes it's on top, like for minor hockey. Sometimes it's on top of the iPad, but you just want to kind of double check because sometimes they have in the wrong time. So you don't want to let your little like U9 players who are usually used to playing only 10-minute periods, and you don't want to put 13 minutes periods up on the clock because that extra 9 minutes for a total game is a lot for those little guys. They would love to have it up there, but I mean, and the parents would love it because they get extra ice time, but I mean, they would probably get pretty tired. But yeah, you just want to double check with them just to make sure you do have the right time up there for them to go.
It definitely, like I said, being in the box is challenging, was challenging for me, to watch everything that was going on as a brand new learner. I hadn't even Googled what to do in a timekeeping, scorekeeping box. So I was really had no idea other than I assumed that the person that was back there pushed buttons. But there is way more to that. So a game sheet. Let's talk about what's recorded on a game sheet. So obviously, goals and assists and penalties, things like that are on there. So can you tell our listeners what happens? Let's say we're in the first period and a goal is scored for the home team. What happens in that particular moment when the goal is scored?
So when the goal is scored, I personally always have a piece of scrap paper sitting with me because it's just so much easier to write down um, the time that you have to write down the time that is on the clock for when the goal is scored. And then the ref comes over and he's going to tell you usually three numbers. So the first number being is who scored the goal. And then the second number is your first assist. And the third number is is your second assist. So then on my score sheet, after they start the play again, I have time to put down, say we're in period one, I would write down period one, the time, we'll say 9:43, and the goal was scored by number 7. So I would put number 7 first. And then our two assists, we're just going to say is 17 from 25. Now, for junior A games, we also have an announcer. So then I would get on the telephone, call upstairs to our PA booth, give that person all that information, and they would announce that to our fans on who scored that goal. And then I would also put on the big scoreboard, I would hit number 1 for a home goal. And that's how you do a goal.
And that's amazing. And it was intimidating, like I said, for me to be sitting there because so the whistle blows. And this is my retell of the very first goal. So the whistle blows, there is a goal, and within seconds there's a penalty, and you've got a scrap piece of paper and you're writing it down and you're telling me, okay, just hit the home team and hit this player and it's definitely, like I said, it's a lot, but it's exciting. Um
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much going on, and you do have the experience, which is nice. So and you've come to learn that